Dom and Johnny in the morning. So I figured we could start by introducing ourselves. Who are you?
I'm Dominic Lucenti. I've been training in the martial arts for about 23 years and teaching for about 10 of those.
And what are like the ranks that you hold in like various styles and stuff too?
I'm a 4th degree in Shaolin Kempo Karate and then a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So I'm John Tanaka. I'm a 5th degree black belt in Shaolin Kempo Karate. And since this is a martial arts podcast, I figured we could start at the beginning with our big question today, just being asked by one of our teen students, which is, why do you train in the martial arts? Like a blue belt student was just curious, like he got to blue belt and he was like, well, you obviously stuck with it for many, many years. I think for me, started in, I think this is 27 years. Yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, so we'll kick it off. Like, why do you train in the martial arts?
Ooh, loaded question. If I remember correctly, I started at 15 years old, and I have always kind of been enamored with martial arts, mostly because of movies. I was a big kung fu movie nerd, so anything with Jet Li or Jackie Chan or Donnie Yen or Sammo Hung, I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. I know when I was younger, I had tried a class in my hometown, but the instructor said that me and my brothers were a little bit too wild for karate at the time.
Oh.
And then when I was in late middle school, I started getting bullied, and that made me really want to learn martial arts. So when I was 15, I found an opportunity with a friend, and he had told me that, he goes to karate over in Mansfield, across from the Eastbrook Mall, and I asked if I could come with, and that was probably one of the most important days of my life. So pretty much changed the trajectory of where I was going. So
Yeah, do you remember your first class at all?
I do.
Yeah. Do you remember what you did?
No.
No.
No, too many years ago.
Yeah.
But I do remember it. I remember being there and seeing, I think there were 6 instructors at the time, some of which weren't too much older than me, acting as intern instructors, instructors in training. But it was so cool, to see them and see how they moved, and it made me want to continue. I said, I want to be like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want to do. And not to mention, the class was super fun, and Master Ken, formerly just Ken,
Yeah.
always made us laugh, and he made we sweat, we laughed, and we learned, and it was just fun.
Yeah, well, and I think there are 2 things I want to pick out that are, some of which is kind of usual in the martial arts industry, but also some of which is a little unusual. So first, this school has always had a strong team of instructors. A lot of martial arts schools are kind of one-man shows where there's one head honcho with maybe some helpers or assistants, but there's like one personality that kind of drives the business and the teaching. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I even remember from being a kid, I started when I was 5. There's always a team of instructors of course, various skill levels and different places on the path, but it is definitely now not a single personality-driven community. Everyone has a space to be a leader, and what leadership means to everybody is also a little bit different.
Yeah, what about you?
So my parents were a little more preventative, I guess. They looked at me when I was like a kid and they said, he's gonna get bullied. So I started when I was 5 years old, and that was a little terror, but unlike it sounds like your first instructor, Ken had to put up with me for years and years. But it's actually, while I was thinking about this, there is kind of like a deeper layer part of that, which is in the 1940s, my paternal grandfather's family had actually been put into the internment camps. And one of the ways, I guess, they determined like if you were like sent to the camps or not had to actually do with martial arts. There's a lot of mysticism surrounding martial arts. And I know you've done like a deep dive into history and Kempo and stuff, and like how World War II, Hawaii, like all these intersection points. So there was kind of a fear of there being like this uprising or something. So my grandfather never let my uncle train in martial arts. I think partially just because of that fear of, what had happened to his family. So part of it is my father had always been interested in martial arts. And even though there was this like, hey, we want to prevent bullying and all that stuff, I really think it was one of his ways of trying to connect to his family's lineage and try to move on from that kind of generational wound. So, yeah.
Yeah, and he was a police officer too, right?
Oh yeah, he was in the Army for a while, and then he was a police officer for 20 years, and now teaches a handgun safety course. So I've been kind of like enmeshed in this side of society for pretty much my whole life. Part of it is like we all have our own reasons for starting. The flip side to it is, now why have you continued with it? So it changed the trajectory of your life. And for many people, after a decade or two, for whatever reason they have to stop. My father's a good example. He had his body wouldn't let him do a lot of the things anymore. So why do you continue with it?
Ooh, yeah. Well, a completely different reason than why I started. So, my love of karate movies and mostly kung fu movies, and obviously, being bullied, I wanted to be able to beat people up.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, he could beat up like 9 guys at the same time. Imagine if I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely through the beginning of my journey, I held on to that. I wanted to be in my teenage mind some sort of human weapon.
Yeah.
And I had this kind of fantasy about what I would become as a black belt. And the more I trained, the more I kind of started to realize how important the martial arts were.
Yeah.
Beyond the physical. And it helped me in a lot of ways with focus and keeping calm. I was usually quick to act, and I guess in some ways I still am. But
it's a little more channeled now, though. It's a little more skillful.
My impulse control is slightly better.
Yeah.
But, in all those ways, it took me from a child that had trouble in school because he couldn't focus and his mind just bounced around so fast to someone who can ace college courses. And it's something that I never thought I could do because I never had the environment to teach me how to use my insane amount of energy in a positive way. So now, I train the martial arts mainly for myself because I still love how it makes me feel, but also so I could impart better knowledge to students so that hopefully I can have as much of an impact on them as the martial arts had on me in, much more than, just the physical way.
Yeah, and I think the physical way is kind of important.
Yeah,
so,
it's still cool. I still watch the movies, yeah.
Well, it's just interesting because, like, one of the things that we talk about often in martial arts is empowerment, right? Mm-hmm. So part of it is you train so that hopefully it's a tool that you never need to use, but knowing that you have it does give you a kind of confidence in the way that you walk around the world. I have taken that lesson of empowerment and tried it in a few other venues as well. Like, one of the things I always talk your ear off about is Dungeons and Dragons and how they parallel. The difference is with, like, TTRPGs like D&D, there's not that same physical exertion. There's a lot of the same emotional benefits, but and like mental benefits, how you think things through. But because it's kind of a sedentary activity, you're missing the physical benefit that I think can really help people focus. Like, part of it, like, I talk with school teachers sometimes. We get to kind of cheat in the dojo because we're not asking them to sit still at a desk that's designed to be uncomfortable. We get to get them moving around, and we get to get them engaged. And by exercising their bodies, it really helps remove the resistance or the distractions of their mind. So, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Why do you still do it? You know, I've known you for a long time, and I think I don't think I know the answer to this. So, curious.
Yeah. So for a while, especially in my late teens, I did it because I didn't really there was never a time I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So in college, I had flirted with pursuing a career in video game design and digital media and design. And, you know, this is, I'm sure things have changed by now, but when I was flirting with that direction of my life, the program at the university, like, didn't even have a code. Like, the classes were under art history. I can't even remember, or something like that. They had, like, no solid programming. And the one thing all of the teachers would talk about is how physically wrecked they would be doing the job that they did. So, like, they're creating some sort of animation for a Nickelodeon TV show, and they'd have to stay up, like, 3 days in a row, missing their sleep, and are puking by the end of it, and they could count the 20 empty containers of Chinese takeout and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't want that for myself. Like, I think the skills are really valuable, and the industry just has this physical toll on the body that I think would result in me being really unhappy. That and there was a very straightforward reality that I would probably have to move away from home. And while that was really uncomfortable, it just, the way the puzzle pieces were falling, it just didn't make sense for the life I wanted to lead. But the martial arts, from an integration standpoint, it just made more sense for the person I wanted to be. So, I mean, I still do a little bit of digital media stuff, you know, like putting this podcast up, but it's nowhere near as intense as I think it would have gone if I had continued down that path. So if you had someone, like, ask you why they should train in the martial arts, like, if they were just interested in it, I mean, I think both our answers are pretty good, but like what would be your, like, 60-second pitch to them?
Ooh, you know, I think it's not to bring up sales, because I hate thinking about it like that, but because the martial arts has such a wide array of benefits, I feel like it's so important to find out what they want or what they need. You know, because for someone like me, the needs were they were kind of masked for me.
Right.
I had no idea what I needed. What I knew was I wanted it because it looked cool. So, you know, for kids like me, sometimes reeling them in with the coolness, you know, to find out then what they need is important, because martial arts are cool. You know, they're super cool. You know, that's one of the main reasons why I do it. You know, there's 1,000,001 benefits, but I wouldn't have known that at that age.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. Master Stephanie and I talked when Cobra Kai Season 2 first came out. There's like an episode where the Cobra Kai school and the Miyagi-Do school each end up doing a demonstration at the same, like, town carnival or something. And so Daniel has his 2 students, and they're, like, going through, like, the spiritual side of the martial arts, and then immediately Cobra Kai comes on with their AC/DC, and it's, like, really clean and sharp and crisp and, you know, like, really cool stuff. So it's not, it is interesting. Like, I'm sure for adults, the Daniel-san side probably speaks to them a little more. For, like, kids, the Cobra Kai side would definitely attract them, even for some parents. I had someone sign up their 5-year-old with the explicit thing of, I just watch Cobra Kai and I want her to be able to do that. And I'm like, well, we're going to have to temper some expectations. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
I woke up in a Cobra Kai shirt this morning, so I'm a fan.
Did you watch all of it?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, no, that was one show where the cheesier it got, the happier I got.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't crank up the 80s enough.
Yeah. If you have something in particular that you'd be interested in us talking about, like if you have any questions or anything, I would be curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, now taking live callers.
Dom and Johnny in the morning!